Professor Hersh Chadha. I speak to you from Dubai. Today I have a very interesting topic. It's called Wobble. A lot of you may not have heard the word wobble, but wobble is a word which is in the English dictionary. Wobble. If you try and imagine, you would say that it creates a sense of instability. This is true. It does. But it's insane. It's happening. It happens to everything in motion. Not only to the car tires that we see on the road. We see them wobble sometimes. They are not in alignment and they start wobbling. That's why we go and we get the wheels aligned. Because when they are wobbling, these tires are slowly losing their threading. Surprisingly, the wobbling of the tires and the movement of the tires makes me think of what other things that are moving could wobble. And to my amazement, I found out that our planet, the Earth, wobbles also. It wobbles primarily because of the axis of 66.2 degrees, 66.5 degrees that it's rotating on. And this makes it wobble, but we don't feel it. We don't feel it because we are not accustomed to sensing it, because it does not wobble all the time. It wobbles gently, but its impact is felt every 20,000 years on our planet. When this wobbling takes place every 20,000 years, there are huge climatic shifts on the planet. And this tends to change the complete terrain of our planet. Places that are dry tend to become wet. Places that are wet tend to become dry. If we look at the Sahara Desert, it's also one of the biggest deserts. And if we look at the whole region, right up from the Sahara up to the Gobi Desert, it is one patch of land which is dry, which is lifeless, but still has a huge history behind it. It was created by the wobbling of the earth. This region, the Sahara, used to be a very, very lush green, dense forest area. It even had a river flowing through it. But then it slowly started becoming dry and it started diminishing in rainfall. And humanity started to move, animals started to perish and disappear, and the fossil bones started to appear. In the wobbling of the earth, the only way to measure what the desert does is through the sand. The sand blows over the ocean and settles in the ocean as sediments. We drill on the ocean bed and we take core samples of the sand, and then we are able to read the history of the desert. Many times people find an oasis in the desert. How do you suddenly find so much water in the desert? The desert sometimes behaves like an aquifer. We have hot, very hot water coming from the center of the earth up and caught in the rocks, and that gently rises up, and that's how the oases are formed. There are fish in the Sahara Desert, fossils. There are even whale fossils in the Sahara Desert. There are a lot of microbe fossils of life in water in the Sahara Desert. So this goes to prove that humanity was once very active in this region, and he began his civilization in the African Sahara Desert. What is today a desert was then lush tropical forests, and he moved from there through a natural bridge that connected Africa to what is now Saudi Arabia. But man's origin comes from Eastern Africa, and then he moved to Western Africa and then crossed across this natural bridge into what is now Saudi Arabia. Most people think that human beings control the climate, and most people say that human beings are to blame for the climate. But yes, I agree with that. But I also say that the planet has its own rules. It follows its own time scale. It follows its own laws of nature. And don't forget, it's still a body that's moving. It's not constant. And as long as it's in motion, nothing can be still. Everything is in motion. It's in pendulum. This 20,000 years is a pendulum for the planet of the Earth. It's a question of time when the Earth changes its face. Humanity has not changed its face, but the face of the Earth has changed many a time. But we are so blind to see it and recognize it. And it's still happening. It happens every day all over this planet. It doesn't matter in which country you are. But it's happening. Nature is playing its role. Human beings are playing its roles. Animals are playing its roles. But it's happening. But the whole purpose of nature is to serve humanity, to help humanity survive, and to make our planet a livable planet, one where human beings can enjoy. So, as things change in our planet, so will human beings adapt to it. We are the most adaptable animals on this planet. It is truly amazing that one single factor called Wobble of the planet Earth can have such a huge impact from one end of the Sahara to the other end of the China in the Gobi Desert. It can completely change the face of the desert. Most people come to the desert looking for oil, but now they've understood that they can find water. Actually, below Libya, below so many countries in the Sahara, there's a lot of water. It's very warm water, and there's a lot of water that has been stored in aquifers naturally by Mother Nature. As it keeps coming up from the core of the earth, so while this wobbling is going on, I'd like to share with you one thing. The wobbling of the earth does not affect us immediately, but it affects everything around us over a period of time. It's a scientific way of understanding why and how the earth's crust is moving. The wobbling theory was a theory that was discovered by NASA during its space shuttle flights. And when they started focusing on the Sahara Desert and they started seeing images of the change in the Sahara Desert, they actually found rivers and they found large water bodies and lakes below the Sahara Desert, and they were surprised. How is there so much water below these sand? But they were able to see that from space. And they came to the conclusion, and they went through their studies, and they went through the core samples from the ocean, and they came to the conclusion that this was Mother Nature working through the wobbling of the earth to create the desert and also to lift the water up. I'm sure a lot of you all did not know what wobble is. A lot of you all did not know what it was in terms of the earth, but I hope this lecture has brought some knowledge to you. Thank you very much.